However, Stellar allows you to also issue a token for real estate or gold or shares of a RIT or an hour of your time as a consultant. In other words, Stellar offers a generalized toolkit to anyone to do what Circle is doing with USD coin. Stellar lets you digitize value and then issue redeem claims on it. The platform was designed for stable coins before stable coins was even a word.
Mm. Mm.
If that don't make you go buy some more XLM, I don't know what will.
Can
I
I?
love that.
So can I just talk a minute about CBDCs and then we'll let you do the whole story and I'll drop that down, mate, because I was really just interested in about the conversation you was talking about the British banks. So I'm a big advocate for the CBDCs that are coming through, instant payments and everything else. And I know that there's a big negativity about the bank's new systems and everything else. And Ash, what you said a minute ago about the fact when they do massive updates, they shut the systems down. Mm-hmm. I used to work for the banks, and when they do actual upgrades to software systems, we do actually have to shut down everything and just update to the latest system and then we have to stress test it. We have to do a load of testing, and then we put it back out to the customers. So there are a lot of retraining and upgrades that happen within the banking structures that people don't normally pay attention to. But I've noticed the more I've come into the crypto world that you guys pay attention to it. most people just see that banking app is closed down. Oh, I'll just try it again tomorrow. But you guys actually see things and try and put things into connections and put things into perspective too. And
absolutely,
that's kind of cool, really, because nobody else really pays attention to when your banking app shuts down. But if you think about what CBDCs are going to do, they're going to come in. You're going to have your own wallet from the central bank itself, right? Which is not a commercial bank; it's the central bank, and they're going to be taking away the. And you all know about bail-ins, right? You all know, and it scares the shit out of you. But do you know what it is? It's also a proof to you that the government does not want to pay any more money to these guys to bail them out. Right? Because we all know what the bank bailout did, right? It put us all in billions of dollars worth of debt, and it came off of your money. It came from your money, right? And it didn't just come from the people that were part of that bank. It came from everybody that was part of every other bank too. So it kind of gave a negative option and kind of gave a negative opinion to the bailouts from the people that weren't in those banks, but it gave a positive opinion for the people that were in those banks because they were saved. So the government couldn't win. They were either bad or good for doing that bailout, right? But the bail-ins is basically saying, look, you're on your fucking own now. Either deal with the customer's money correctly and invest correctly, or you're going to lose your customers and you're going to lose your bank because you're only going to have one option, which is to bail in your customers. And what's going to happen to them? They're going to walk away from you as a bank and they're going to go find another bank. So they give them the ability to do the bail-ins while also telling them, we're not going to fucking help you anymore. You're on your own. Stop fucking up. Stop messing with people's money and stop investing in stupid things. In other words, get your shit together. Right? So the government's walked away from the banks. They gave them the option to be able to take the customers' money. But as a people, as soon as we see them taking our money,
No.
You would never go back to that bank ever again, would you? So that bail-in was basically the government saying, you're on your own, you fuck up with your customers will do what they normally do and they'll walk away from you. So bail-in sounded bad, but in actual fact, it was a good thing because now it showed the banks that they're on their own. They're on their own. So central bank digital currency, when that comes out, there's a lot of negativity coming out on that. And I just want to let you know, the World Payment Association, they had, I went to a forum, and I shared that live to everybody, right? And on there, the digital pound and the digital euro for the UK, they basically turned around and said, we are not programming this money. And Barclays Bank themselves said that they're not going to put an expiration date on it. Only in China, they put an expiration date on their CBDC vouchers. They didn't put an expiration on their CBDC, right? They put it on the voucher, which is their form of universal credit. They only put an expiration date on their voucher. And what that meant was, with that voucher, they could then go into an SVF function facility, which you can Google the SVFs, right? In China, they have to have a license. And what you do is you convert your voucher into another form of currency. So when it's about to expire, you have an SVF transfer into another form of currency. And it means that the Chinese government can actually see what you actually spend off these vouchers and then don't spend. So it gives them an ability to analyze the voucher side. But over here in the UK, when the Digital Pound Foundation comes through with their CBDC and the euro comes out, and you guys are doing the digital dollar, you've got like 3 projects: Project Cedar, Project Hamilton, is it?
Yeah.
You've got loads of these projects looking at digital dollar. The expiration date over here in the UK is not going to be added. They've pointed that out. It's not going to be added. Programmable money is not going to be added. Programmable payments, however, have been around for ages, and they're going to be still included. So like your standing orders, your direct debits, your ability to, you know how banks have stopped people from spending money in crypto by like Santander in the UK, they said only £3,000 can go to a Binance or Coinbase. They limited that 3,000 to 3,000. That's already a form of control, if you think about it, by the banks of your fiat currency. So control of fiat currency is already there. They just don't normally implement it. So payment. How can we put this? The payments themselves can be programmed to not happen or to happen, but it's always down to the person that actually has the final execution of that. Because you know what it's like, Alda. When you pay somebody, it has to be authorized from your bank. There's that authorization stage first. That's where the programmable bit comes in, because that's the authorization, whether they authorize it or not. When you become your own bank, you're going to be able to hold up to 20,000 of these CBDCs. And again, this is where everybody's using the scare tactic, right? Who the fuck has £20,000 in their bank just sitting there doing nothing?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
well,
most people.
It only makes sense.
You should be in an ISA. You should be in a tax-free ISA, shouldn't you? You should be banging away, saving into investment products that give you interest rates and higher, make your money work for you. So if you're sitting with 20,000 CBDCs that don't give you interest, don't give you any sort of ability to do anything other than spend, then it should be down to you to then go find a stable coin which is backed by gold, or it's down to you to then make money. So yes, 20,000 restriction is like, damn, they're trying to control how much money is in my account. Well, why would you keep 20,000 CBDCs with no interest rate, no ability to stake, no anything in a wallet?
Because you still got people that have $20,000 in the bank, just in general, just sitting there.
Just sitting there saving. So people,
So I know plenty of people that got, they're saving 20,000, 30,000, 50,000.
Yeah, people love a savings account for some reason.
Yeah, it's just safe.
That word there, savings account. It's down to you to move those CBDCs into a value, into a savings account with a high interest rate. And let's face it, right? People that just sit on their money in a bank account that, again, 0.005% interest rate. Is that money really working for them?
No, that's why it makes no sense for them. Exactly.
But the banks are loving it because they're able to take your 50,000 or 20,000 and loan it out to other people at a higher interest rate, and they give you fuck all back for it. So it's now what the CBDCs will do is it'll make you think, right, I can only hold 20,000 of these. I need to put them into somewhere where I can save money. I can make my money work for me. Do I go for a low risk investment? Do I go for medium risk investment? Do I go for a fucking high risk investment? Or do I gamble with crypto? I mean, these are things that's going to make people have to do. They're going to have to learn finance. And you know what? That's the reason why the banks are shutting down all these bank branches, because as soon as they get them CBDC wallets, it's you guys that are in control. It's you guys that are going to be searching out for the higher interest rates, the bank accounts, the investment stacks. So, this is what I'm saying. I'm bullish on CBDCs because I see the banks absolutely. I hate to be that guy. As I worked in finance, I see them kind of crapping themselves with the incoming of CBDCs. And you either hate the banks or you like the banks enough to keep the bank accounts and not the CBDCs. It's such a topsy-turvy world right now where you either go really full on negative on this shit or you actually embrace what's coming and change and look for a way to make money from it. I'm on the. I
That's
want to
what
make money.
I'm on.
I want to make money.
Make
And
money
if the
from
banks,
it.
and if
Capitalize
the
off of the situation. That's what I keep telling everybody. Being scared, what is that going to do? Or being
so
upset and angry at the situation, what is that going to do? So you might as well
so
capitalize off of it.
that's it, Ash. That 100% right. And the banks have been sitting there pretty for how long? Because you were forced to
Forever.
get a bank account. You were forced to get a bank account because it's the only way the government can actually get you to pay your wages, and they can see how much money you were getting in there, and therefore they forced you to get a bank account. And then look what the banks did with that forcing from the government. They got the government to have to bail them out. It's all a big circle. It's all a big circle, isn't it? So if you look at what CBDCs are coming, you're going to be coming from the central banks. It's going to go to your own wallet, and we all know how we all have wallets with crypto assets. So we're all going to have a CBDC wallet, and then we choose which bank we participate in. And the CBDC wallets will be a way for them to give us our digital tokenized assets, which will be our passports, our IDs, and things like that. It'll all come on that public sector above, and the commercial banks will be left in the dust only with their investment arms and who we choose to then bank with going forward. If you think about it, it'll be like, when mobile phones came out and everybody had that can you remember the telephones with the massive aerials in the house?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We went from having telephones, massive aerials in the house, to having mobile phones. And who was the last person? Who were the last people to actually have an old telephone and no mobile? It was your grandma and granddad, wasn't it?
Yep.
They were the last ones to adopt the technology for mobile phones. So the banks will soon only have the OAPs in their systems 100% because they will refuse to change. They're scared of change. It's called the behavioral change pattern. So we're gonna be the people ahead of the curve because we're gonna know this shit. We're gonna understand this shit. Whereas everybody else is going to be, let's sign a petition. Let's get out the CBDCs. Let's not do this. We love our banks. We love our banks. We don't fucking like our banks. We have banks because they're convenient. We have our money paid into them because it's convenient. We have money. We use our cards because it's convenient.
Exactly.
It's not because we want to. It's because we were forced to, and now it's become a convenience.
They fought
so now we
against
just have to
banks.
learn a new one.
That's what it doesn't make sense because people. I'm like, listen, our grandparents fought against banks. They didn't like my grandpa. He died with a what? What hella makes sense because people. I'm like, listen, our grandparents fought against banks. They didn't like my grandpa. He died with a what? What hella makes sense because people. I'm like, listen, our grandparents fought against banks. They didn't like my grandpa. He died with a what? With hella cash in a safe. When he passed away, he had none of his money in the bank because he was 100% against banks. So that's why it makes no sense that people have this mentality now that we need. When he passed away, he had none of his money in the bank because he was 100% against banks. So that's why it makes no sense that people have this mentality now that we need banks. I'm like, no, we didn't even want banks in the first place.
No, we never needed them. It's just that we didn't have the education. We didn't have the education that we have now, and it's just too much information out here. Too much information. You know what I mean?
The banks was forced on us, Alder, because if you didn't have a bank account, you couldn't get paid by a job. And if you didn't have a bank account, you couldn't get a passport. If you didn't have a bank account, you couldn't pay your taxes.
They forced it.
They forced you by everything else they bolted onto having a requirement for the banks. Now they've realized that the bank idea, because of the bailout and all the billions of dollars that went into it, that it wasn't such a good idea having them actually in control of it or in control of the population because it put too much risk on the government to have to bail them out in the long run. So all that stuff about bailings that went around TikTok that was all negative and everything else. Think bigger picture. Think like if you got bailings, you don't need bailouts. Government can walk away. That is what that means. And if you saw your money being drained from an account because the banks were misappropriating their own funds, you would walk away. So it's detrimental to themselves as a bank to actually make sure that they never do the bailings. And guys, you are aware of like the certain amount of money that you can have in per bank account, right? That are covered by insurance. How much do you have in the US?
Yes, 50,000, right?
So we're about the same here in the UK. So never have more than that amount sitting in one bank. So even if the bailings happened, you're still insured by your government. So Always keep that in mind, guys. I'm so sorry I've taken up way too much
Oh
more
no, no,
time. I
no!
want to
You're
listen to
good.
this
No,
guy's
Thank you for
story.
coming. No, that was
no,
amazing.
no.
I'm gonna have to actually make a clip of that and put that on YouTube because that people like that was amazing, bro. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. And listen, it's
Absolutely.
just to speak on that a little bit. Um, a lot of what happens with the banks too. People got to learn. People got to take accountability for um our own actions, right?
Yeah.
When you go generations back, the further you go back, the better interest rates they were getting on their savings accounts. But we're talking about the further you go back, you have people that are walking into the bank asking the teller, like not even putting money in or taking it out, just give me my balance. They're seeing these people all the time. They're holding these people accountable. And the more generations that went by that wanted banking easier and easier, who never really go in and talk to these people, don't even know their teller by first name. Like my mother has known her bank person her entire life. Even when it's a bank, they change all the time. You know what I mean? But just as a kid, I used to go into the bank. Before then, the grandmothers would always check the balances at the bank.
They indoctrinate you at the start, right? Because I used
Yeah.
to have in my we didn't just have banks. We've got building societies, which were local co-ops between each other, right? And I used to have a rich tea. It was like a smiley face with the little hands. And he used to have give you this little piggy bank every free. He used to it's called the rich tea bank account for little kids. You used to have your little savings account. You used to go in. You used to be proud to, bit like, is it Mary Poppins where they go in with their